Hello and welcome to the Mystic Nerd Squad podcast. I am host Kelly Meyerson, and this evening I am so excited for a candid conversation with Amber Dobkins, who's joining us tonight. Amber is an alchemist, visionary, shamanic healing practitioner, and women's empowerment mentor. Her favorite thing about her work is watching her clients break generational patterns and step into their confidence. She co-owns Mystic Meadows Healing with her husband, Jeremiah, where they share their love for transformational inner work. Welcome, and I'm so happy to have you. You can notice in the background, there's a theme if you're watching this on video. If not, I will just share for those who are enjoying it, the audio version. We both have a lovely setup with sacred medicine in the back, which is how Amber and I met through our very good friend, Jen Pisano. And so I'm thrilled to have Amber here tonight. And I told her before we got started that usually we kind of chat, we do the show, and then at the end, I get to hear like what's coming up for you. But Amber has so many amazing things coming up for her that I said, would you be okay if we started off? You can introduce yourself and tell us what you have coming up so we can all get excited about it with you.
Yes. It's such an exciting time. Well, I just launched the book Jaguar Medicine, which is an anthology, and the subtitle of that book is Fierce Feminine Frequency Keepers Birthing the New Earth. It is so yummy, so activating. So that just launched on Friday for the ebook, and we have the paperback coming out, I think next Friday. So we have a summit coming up, and we had a global release party, and we're going to have a book party. So lots of fun things there with that. And then I'm also writing a book with my mom and my daughter about legacy and just really breaking generational patterns, healing ancestral wounds, and leaving a legacy of healthy patterns for our future generations.
Oh my gosh, I'm really excited about this one. This sounds so amazing. This idea of like, this is the time we get to do all of this healing work through the generations. And the fact that you're doing this with multiple generations is incredible. So I just have to know, how did you get started with this project? What really sparked your interest?
Well, sacred medicine was really a big part of it. Writing in sacred medicine, that was my first book. And it was just such an exciting time to feel into my story and who I am. And then putting it out there in a book, I mean, it's like a tattoo. It's there forever. So feeling into that and what do I really want to share? And I really fell in love with writing, especially the co-creations of an anthology and the people that I got to meet, like you and Jen. It was just a really exciting experience for me. So Sacred Medicine launched on September 4th, and September 9th, I was calling my mom and my daughter saying, we have to write a book together. Like, it's coming through. I'm so excited. And I think just Sacred Medicine sparked that. And both my mom and my daughter had chills and said yes immediately. So we jumped right in.
Oh my gosh, that's so special. So how did the writing process work for the three of you? Did you talk about like what you were each going to bring to it? I mean, this is just so cool. I love it.
Yeah, really the idea of it, and of course I call it the working idea because books, like you start the writing process, and some of you who are watching may not know that process, but I am always open to what's coming through next, and so many of the writers that I know do the same. So we come in with a concept, and that may change, but right now what our concept is really walking through the phases of womanhood. And some of that is ritual, but most of it is walking through the maiden, the mother, and the wise woman, and feeling into each of those energies. Because really, we all go through phases in life, but women, I feel like there's such a big shift and transition with each phase that we enter into. And I just became a grandmother this year. And actually, just after sacred medicine. So all September was a big month for me. Lots of birthing books, birthing ideas, and birthing grandbabies. So um, yeah, so that time frame was just really opening me up. And so as I was transitioning into grandmotherhood, there was so much coming in, and I was feeling a different part of who I am and what I want to leave for the world, and really standing up for justice. And I felt a bigger call to community. And I think that's just because I have more generations on the earth. Like my line is going downward. So feeling into that and seeing the bigger picture, there was just a lot of stirring in me.
That's amazing. Wow. So you look way too young to be a grandmother. I'm sure everybody tells you that.
Yes,
but,
I am young.
but how wonderful that you get to enjoy having so many generations on the planet at the same time. That is really, really special. So I'm going to transition us a little bit, because right now you have Jaguar Medicine in the process. So partially out with the ebook and the paperback coming very soon. So tell me a little bit about that project. So how much writing have you been doing since September?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's been a lot. Not only writing, but with my mom and my daughter, we're doing the book on our own. I mean, we have support, we have a publisher, but it's totally different than just writing a chapter. I mean, it's not just 3,000 words.
Right, totally. Yes.
So yeah, it's been a lot of research and writing, and how do we really want to birth this book together? So it's been busy. Needless to say, all of that, it's been a very busy time. But Jaguar Medicine, oh man, for me, it was very activating. And Jaguar is just such an intentional animal. I mean, she is the queen of the jungle, really. She is in so many different realms. She's in the trees, she's in the water, she's on the land, and she attacks things like alligators and things. So she's really a fierce feminine frequency that we can tap into. So a lot of courage was coming through, and empowerment. And there was the grandmother energy, because I do think Jaguar is associated with a grandmother energy. So that process was, I had to really ground myself, because it was so activating, and so like it was just such a yummy energy to be in. And then with 30 other women who were like gung ho. So it was an amazing project and opportunity to be a part of.
Yeah. So, and that's where you said this concept of radiant integrity came through for you and became something that was so important to the project. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes. So for me, the theme of my chapter became about integrity. And while I was digging into integrity, what I came to the conclusion of is that integrity is when we embrace our whole self. We are complete and whole with who we are in our entire being. Now, we use the word integrity for so many different things, just staying true to something that we believe, which is part of it. But to be true to ourselves, we first have to know ourselves and really be connected to who we are. So the radiant part of that is knowing who you are and then being able to radiate that into the world. So shining and glowing that out there, and being okay with who you are, being okay with your uniqueness, your shadows, your flaws. All of those things are parts of us. And I think as women and mothers, through the phases that we go through, we lose pieces of ourselves. And in my opinion, integrity and wholeness is bringing those pieces back and putting the puzzle back together to have that whole picture.
That is such a breath of fresh air, because what I'm thinking is, like, when we get to have this acceptance of who we are, and like you said, the shadow and the light and the present and the future and the past, and sort of hold on to that all at once, and then very unapologetically just be. That just feels like such an easy way to live rather than trying to conform and, be who we think people want us to be, which I know you can relate to that experience, as I can too. The history of people pleasing and codependency, which has just become, I never knew so many people were experiencing this. I thought it was just me. Yeah. So I love that definition. I'm gonna use that one. That's a really good one.
Good. Yeah, it's so beautiful, and it's what the jaguar really represents, because the jaguar is who she is, and she is not afraid to face anything off. So having her energy with it, and she's pretty intense. I mean, when I first entered into the jaguar energy, it was a little bit too much for me. I kind of had to step back. But what I found is jaguar waited for me. She wasn't going to tone herself down to make me feel ready. She was going to wait until I could meet her where she is. So feeling into that really brought more of the radiant integrity through. And just as you said, taking that breath of fresh air of who we are. And there's so many times in my life that I've said, I'm too protective, or I'm too this, I'm too that. And looking at it as, you know what, sometimes when I'm too much of something, it may be a gift that I hold. I may be overusing it, but finding the balance in it and accepting it as part of who I am is really refreshing.
Oh yeah, I absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's huge, and I think a lot of people are going to relate to that, that sense of being too much of something. And if we could just, maybe we need to dial back somewhat, but we don't need to abandon. And I know I could say for myself in the past, when I felt like people are like, woo, they're feeling my too muchness, I was like, okay, I'm just going to stop existing in that way. But instead, just allowing ourselves to exist in the balance and listen, if it's too much for someone, they don't have to partake, right?
Right. Exactly. And it's so good for us to recognize that and be able to continue to shine and not dim our light. There's so many times that I feel like you just said, we kind of hide and dim, and instead being in our full power and fully of who we are and saying, yeah, if I'm, I'll dial it down a little maybe, but, meet me somewhere where I don't have to dial all the way back so that you can be comfortable with me. Because sometimes we have to let people go out of our life or spend less time with them if they cause us to dim and hide, because there's so many times that we continue to do that. And then we forget who we are and how to be our fully authentic self.
Yeah. And I totally agree with what you're saying. And I'm thinking too, a little bit of a mini aha, like when people are asking you to dim, it's because they're dimming. They've already lived that way themselves, and it's sort of like a mirror for them, and they're like, "Whoa, I'm dimming. Dim with me. Let me know that my dimming is okay." Versus like, what if we could just really embrace that uniqueness that we have and that unique light and what we have to offer the world, and not feel like it has to be conforming to what other people expect of us. I think that I'm all here for that. That would be amazing for more people to sort of be experiencing life that way, putting ourselves out there and allowing other people to put themselves out there and holding space. And if I don't understand or it doesn't make sense to me, asking those really good questions and being okay with not understanding everything about someone. We don't necessarily have to be able to fit people neatly into little boxes so they make sense for us. Why does everything have to make sense? Right?
Yes, hence the mystical realm and the unknown. But I think many of us are afraid of that. We're afraid of the unknown, or not being able to put someone in a box or have a title for something, because then it leaves it open for interpretation maybe, or whatever it may be. So, but it is a beautiful picture that you just drew of, if everyone was doing that, if everyone was shining, what would the world look like? I mean, it could be a really beautiful place, and we may not fit in all boxes or all places or with all people, but we would find our people. Like we would draw our people to us because we would be matching each other in our light and not dimming, like you mentioned. It would be
Yeah.
beautiful.
And I mean, I think we personally got a glimpse of that with sacred medicine, because the people that were involved in that project were just incredibly unique and authentic, and talk about radiant integrity. We had a whole crew of people like that who were willing to just be, and excited and enticed by the idea of this collective of people. And that is what excites me, you know not even just that bigger picture of everybody, but that there are already people doing this. We're already here. It's not a fantasy and a dream for the future, but there are already people who are living this radiant integrity, and we're just putting it out there as like, look, and you can do this too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an invitation for sure.
Yeah. So what's next then? So you've got this book that's coming out later on in the springtime, with your mom and your daughter. Jaguar Medicine, you said that there's a summit. Tell me about the summit.
Yeah, so there was a global release party last week, and from there we are going into a summit. Next, I think Monday is when it starts, and each author will give a masterclass in the summit. So for a week, I think there's 30 authors in the book, so it's got to be 5 or 6 authors doing a masterclass each day for 5 days. So that's a beautiful energy to see, not only to get to know the authors and read their chapters, but then to see them in their glowing in what they do and their power, and sharing their true authenticity is really, really fun. And then from there, we're doing a book club, which they've never done. The publisher of Jaguar Medicine is Kiva Publishing. And so this is the first time she's done a book club. So we'll get to experience that for the first time and see how it goes. But I imagine the authors will go in and read pieces of their chapters and really connect with the readers. So I think that will be a really fun opportunity.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much fun. Yeah. So, if people wanted to participate in the summit, is that something that they could still sign up for to participate in? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I'm actually speaking on January 26th at 12 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So I can definitely leave a link in the comments or something to invite people into that masterclass. And then from there, they can get into the book club if they'd like.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That sounds like so much fun. So, let's dream a little bit, because you've got some amazing, incredible things happening. So, if you were going to get to December, what would you be telling yourself about what you accomplished in this year of 2022?
Oh man, I mean, we're only in January, so that's a big
I
stretch.
know.
But I love this question because it expands me. It makes me have to think outside of my comfort zone, which is lovely because so many times I call the comfort zone the self-sabotaging zone, where we kind of keep ourselves held inward. So that is helping me expand outward. So next December, I mean, I will have had 2 books come out in 2022. Who knows? There's others on the table that could come out. So I say books are like tattoos. Once you get one, you want more. So
Yes.
and it's so fun to see a book come out and the whole process go through. So I've written a couple books. I really do think with the book with my mom and my daughter, right now the working title is Sacred Legacy. We'll see what comes out of it. So for now, I'll call it Sacred Legacy. But I do think that there's going to be a movement with that, and that we will hold ceremonies and rituals and walk women through transitions in life. And for me, I became a grandmother I'm 41. So at 40, I became a grandma. So I was pretty young, and there was a big transition for me in that, because I I guess I wasn't expecting to become a grandma so young. I mean, I knew it was possible. My kids are adults, but it just wasn't in my plans. So, really feeling into, and was so exciting. I was so excited to become a grandma, but there was a phase of what does that mean for me? Like, what recipes do I have to pass down? Like, there was this kind of nesting stage in a different way. But definitely the feeling of what stories am I going to tell? All those things that grandmas do that are so beautiful. I just didn't feel ready for. I didn't feel wise enough. I didn't feel like I tested my recipes enough, like I said. So I imagine some of those things come with time, but I finally embraced that within myself and said, you know what? It's here. Obviously, I'm ready because the universe called it into my family, and what's next. So, for me to embrace that fully, and for my daughter to step into motherhood, and my mother to step into great grandmotherhood, we did a ritual, and my mother blessed me and initiated me into grandmotherhood. My mother and I blessed my daughter and initiated her into motherhood, and then we blessed the fourth generation, so the baby girl. And it was a beautiful ceremony. And there was just something about having a day, like, of course, I became a grandma the day that my grandbaby was born. But with the initiation, there was something, an energy, a mindset, something that said, okay, I'm ready. Have been blessed by my mom, and there was something with that really called in the energy of it's time. So with that, I imagine we will carry that into some sort of community offering for next year. And then my grandbaby will be 1 in September. So I'm sure that'll be fun to celebrate her, moving around. Now she's just 4 months old, so she's not even crawling. So that'll be a big change.
Yeah.
I really think Sacred Legacy will be a big part of the ending of my year.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I love the idea of creating a ritual around that shift and that change. And what's so nice about it is I know in my own experience, like becoming a mom can be very isolating, especially nowadays where the expectation is like you're going to not just be a mom, but you're going to be like, you're going to look gorgeous, you're going to cook the best baby food, you're going to breastfeed like a champ. Like the idea of just being this super mom is so pervasive. And the idea of really there's more to it than that. It's not just about you, it's about this whole link in your ancestry and your line, and being connected to people and feeling more like you're part of something versus feeling in such isolation. I think that has been one of the things that I've noticed, in my own experience and the experience of others, that bringing it around again to where, having a child becomes a community experience and a family experience, and not something that's just so the word isolation just really resonates with me with my own experience. And not to say that I didn't have support, but I felt like the success of being a mom was on me. Yeah.
Yeah, I resonate with that also. My youngest is 18 now, so I'm in a different phase. But I remember, and I wrote about it in Sacred Medicine, the struggles of motherhood. Like, it's such a joyous time, and there's so many fabulous memories. But looking back, there was also a lot of struggles that I had to deal with, and isolation was a beautiful term that you just described for motherhood, because I also felt that way. I felt alone. I went into depression, had anxiety. So, and I believe a lot of that was the people pleasing, was not setting the boundaries, was keeping myself dim, and trying to do it all. As moms, We do. We have so much on our plate, and it feels like, with technology, there are some ease to it. Like I can look up a recipe on my phone instead of trying to find the cookbook. But it feels like, with technology, life has sped up. As the knowledge speeds up, it feels like there's a speed up in life, and the busyness of there's so much more that we can do, and so much that we have access to right at the palm of our hands, which is beautiful. But I do believe that there's a balance in it all.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of balance. Plus, I think, when you talk about like the depression and anxiety that happens, and I didn't personally know anxiety was a thing after giving birth. I thought of like, people being very severely depressed. I never knew anxiety was a thing. So I didn't realize my anxiety was an issue. I'm sure everybody around me felt it, but I didn't know that could have been helped. There could have been support for that at that time. And I think the fact that, and even more, my son is turning 8 in March, but even in 8 years, I mean, you can literally be on Instagram seeing all of these like perfect moms, and we're holding ourselves to that standard. And it makes me feel sad because I think there's so much of a beautiful experience, like you said, great memories, that if you could have just slowed down a little bit, just breathe and like focus on, just honoring yourself, mothering yourself as much as you're nurturing this new little one. That could have done a lot of good for me at that point. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. Totally agree. Back when, when I was a mom, I am still a mom, but when my kids were little,
Yeah.
that's how I'll put it.
Yeah.
um, there was this notion of self-care is selfish,
Mhm.
and really working through that and realizing that self-love, when I love myself and when I care for myself, I have more to give.
Mhm.
I'm overflowing with, all the things that I need to do from a full cup, rather than depleting myself and coming frustrated and angry and stressed out. And realizing that really helped me. And I also have a Christian background, so I had that on top of those beliefs. But there's a scripture that says, love others as yourself. And
Mhm.
really, at the time when I was a Christian, I didn't fully understand that statement. But now looking back on it, it's saying that we need to love ourselves in order to love others properly.
Right.
So it's such a beautiful acknowledgement to see the power of self-care and self-love, and realizing our worth, and bringing that to our children and passing that on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm 100% there with you on that. I think we have this generation now that is coming to terms with this, and really like self-care is becoming so much more a mainstream conversation than it was, like I said, like even I mean, I'm going to have an 8-year-old, but 8 years ago, self-care was not a conversation. It was, don't be selfish, like take care of your baby, and then like you fall like somewhere down the list after the laundry, and you've properly sanitized every item that ever touches your child.
Oh, and
So,
nowadays, can you imagine?
I can't. I have so much love for new moms because it was hard enough 8 years ago. Now with everything else going on, my heart goes out to them because it's beyond terrifying and overwhelming. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think the self-care piece, I almost feel like it needs like I love self-love because I think that's like a little bit, it doesn't have as much of a stigma. Self-care is like, oh yeah, you want me to go take a bubble bath and do my nails. We take a deep breath and we say, okay, that's a small smidgen of something you might do, but it's also scheduling your doctor's appointments and balancing your checkbook and taking time to be still and breathing and exercising and eating good food and There's so many pieces of it. So I love self-care. It's one of my favorite topics. So what is your favorite daily self-care, or maybe your top 3, top 5?
Yeah. So for me, meditation was just, it grounds me in, gives me some peace of mind. And by meditation, there's so many different forms of meditation if you're unfamiliar with that. But so some people, when I say meditation, they're like, oh, you mean like clear our thoughts? I'm a mom, like I'm thinking about dinner and everything else. I believe in doing things your own way and whatever feels good to you and works for you. So for me, meditation was turning on music and letting my mind wander. Like I'm a visual person, so I would let visions come in, and not controlling them was what meditation was to me. So if there was something that came into my mind that I didn't understand, and I would try to understand it and force it to do what I thought it should do, that's when resistance came through. So really, meditation for me was letting go of resistance and allowing the unveiling of kind of the unknown, the mystical side within me. That's where I found my spiritual gifts. That's where I connected to the divine, and just found pieces within me that I didn't realize were there. So for me, I try to meditate regularly. It doesn't always happen. And sometimes it's a couple minutes, and sometimes it's 30 minutes, and I fall asleep and take a nap. And that's fabulous. That's the best meditation for me. But so that would be one. Two, getting into nature. So right now it's cold out. I go outside sometimes, but really, I find taking a bath, which is the water element. We live in the country, so our water is on a well. So I find, and just before this call, you even said the shower for you. That's when your enlightened thoughts come through, or I have the same experience. The water, the bath, either way, shower or bath. There's something that happens with that, and I add salt to my bath, or herbs. You can do a bath tea or something like that. But it grounds me. I don't have any earth in my astrological chart, so I'm very up here. So I do find that grounding, whether it be in water, or if I can get outside and hug a tree or put my feet in the grass or whatever that may be, that's very beneficial for me. And then let's see, a third one I think would be wisdom, whatever that may be. So for me, I love listening to audiobooks or podcasts. I'm kind of a YouTube podcaster. It's not that I necessarily watch the podcast, but YouTube is an easy platform for me to get on and just put on a podcast. And there's something, I feel connected to something bigger, it feels like, with that. And there's so many people out there that are being radiantly in integrity and sharing their truth, no matter how unique or strange it is. And I love hearing and seeing people do that. And it inspires me to do the same. So I feel part of a bigger community and picture when I tap into wisdom, whatever people want to call that, books or podcasts or whatever that will be for them.
I love that. Wisdom. That's perfect. I relate to that too. I'm usually like, and I think it's like partially my manifesting generator energy. Like I deep dive into one. So like I'll follow like a podcast and listen to all of their episodes, and I don't know if you do this. This is like a little trick, but you can speed them up. And I have a very fast brain, so like you can make them go faster. So you make them like go like 1.25 or 1.5 or 2, like depending on how slowly they speak. So like I can get through them a lot faster. But yeah, with like taking in new knowledge, I love that too. That I think is tremendous self-care. And I agree with you. I feel very connected, especially when it's somebody who's radiating their truth. So that is radiant integrity. So yeah, I 100% am there with you. And the meditation, that's like another, like I feel like we have to take these buzzwords and we have to like, all right, let's open it up a little bit. Let's expand a little bit, and I did start meditation doing like guided meditations. And then I just found I just like to turn on music. I like to use some essential oils. I like to sit on my cushion. I like to have my cup of coffee, maybe some oracle cards. Like I like to set the scene. Like that to me feels very luxurious and indulgent to like, I'm going to really set the scene and use all my senses here. And then I don't really use a guided meditation, and I definitely don't have an empty brain ever. but but like just sitting, I love that idea of like just letting things come and letting them go and not trying to make them conform to anything. That sounds, I'm going to try that. I'm definitely going to try that. That sounds incredible. And getting in nature, yeah, that's a really good one. And I agree with you. It's cold. I'm not really going outside, but good reminder that some salts in the bath or some bath tea is like, it feels like you're getting into nature and feels like you're just kind of being authentic to that part of yourself. Yeah. Oh, that's really
Mhm.
nice. Now I feel like a bath. But yeah, I think that's a huge shift. And I if we can really expand that concept of like what self-care is, and it can really be tuned into what lights you up, like what is making you feel like in that moment, what would just make me feel very loved and nurtured and excited and lit up about life, and do that.
Mm,
And I think that is part of radiant integrity. It's, people are lit up by different things. Is it writing poetry? Is it going for a run? Is it, watching? Okay, I love HGTV. That's like another thing. Is it watching like a renovation show from start to finish because you like to see the outcome? And capturing that beautiful picture and things perfectly put together is very soothing to your soul. So I really love that those are such great practices. And the coolest thing about self-care is it can be free. You don't have to spend any
mm,
money on it. It can
I
be,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah, and just to add, if you don't mind me adding to what
No.
something that just came in while you were talking, um, I love how you said doing what lights you up, because that is truly where it's at, and that's allowing our heart to expand and filling our heart. Because I do feel like there's a lot of heart energy that many of us need to work through, and we put up walls and things like that. So lighting up, allowing ourselves to be lit up and receiving is expanding that. But one of the practices that I did with a few girlfriends, we love Rebecca Campbell, so Rise Sister Rise book and Light is the New Black. But she had a thing on Facebook where she asked us to write down 10 things that light us up. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can write that down. I sat with that, and coming up with 10 was a was more difficult than I thought it was going to be, because
Mm.
the words "what lights me up," not what do I want to do, what do I like what lights me up, and feeling into your heart and really going into that was an exercise that was very beneficial to me. And since I had a group of sisters, we had there was some girlfriends that were reading Rise Sister Rise together. We came together and shared the things that lit each other up, and that gave us a glimpse, a deeper glimpse into the deeper parts of who we each were, and from there, gift giving became more fun, because it was like, oh,
Mm.
I know crystals light her up, so I'm going to go pick out a new crystal for her or something like that. There was more to the our circle, I guess.
I love that. I think that's such a fun thing to do with your sisters, your girlfriends, people that you identify as being like women in your life, really sharing what lights you up. What a great practice. I love that. I'm going to write that one down too. Going to be trying that. And I like that, having that become a way that you are having a deeper understanding of somebody in your life and celebrating what lights them up. Because I feel like in that celebration of when somebody is that vulnerable to share what really lights them up, that connection that you have with them. I mean, that is light bringing as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. And sometimes it's not an object. Sometimes it's a song. And then I know I can share if my friend is down, I know the song that lights them up, and I can send that at just the right time. Not that it's planned, it's just you know what lifts them up. And so you can be a part of that in a very simple way. It's so simple to just send a song or something of that nature.
Yeah, I love that. And no better time for people to feel more connected and understood than now with everything that's going on in the world. And, I feel like 2022 is going to be incredible. We know it's going to be incredible for you. You're already claiming that with everything that you have going on. And you are a breath of fresh air in the world, Amber. I really love talking to you. And I want you to come back when your book comes out. Maybe we'll do like a special episode and invite you and your mom and your daughter to talk about that whole process of creating a book together. So I want everyone, we're going to hook everything in the show notes about Amber, how you can connect with her summit starting on Monday for Jaguar Medicine. And you're definitely going to want to get yourself a copy. I can't wait till the paperback comes out so I can get one for myself. So any final words, any words of wisdom to pass before we close out, Amber?
Yes. Stepping into your integrity and being radiant is a big feat. There is a lot of courage that comes with that. So my encouragement to all the viewers is to take it one step at a time, like one little thing at a time. You know what? Sometimes being courageous and being more radiant and stepping into your full power is just making something different for dinner. Like just expanding out of that comfort zone just a little bit and practicing it with dinner. Then you practice it with bigger and bigger things. So really the journey, the pathway is one step at a time. It doesn't have to be anything huge or big. So love yourself where you are, be present with the journey that you're on, and embrace all pieces of yourself.
I love that. I love that. We're calling all our pieces of ourselves in. And I think such a great practice, even just to start with identifying the things that light you up. I love that. So, you have been enjoying the Mystic Nerd Squad podcast, Candid Conversations for the Curious. My thanks to Amber for being such an excellent guest tonight. Such a great conversation. If you found value in this podcast, please follow, like, and share. And if you have a moment to spare, go ahead and give us a review. If you'd like to know more about me, head over to beingwellwithkelly.com. Be well and follow your curiosity. You never know where it may lead you. Good night.